Well, that's funny because I was working on my resume this past weekend, and there was things that were not posted on the county site. Good to know. Good to know.
Was Chad and Rhonda both coming?
Rhonda said she was coming. I have not heard from Chad.
Well, we'll wait a couple more minutes unless you're ready to go.
I'm ready, but...
Is Mona ready?
Oh, sure, anytime.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. And let's see, Craig and Wendell and David, out of the three of you, some of you could count the ballots.
Oh, I gotta get
Do we have more than two?
I have no idea. I might be off the hook in 5 minutes.
Do we have to leave our proceedings?
Half full.
That's this switch chairs.
You go up and down Main Street and find people. Are we supposed to go out, or what do we do?
No.
Wait for her to get the key.
She had to run and get the key.
Yeah, it's locked up.
Yeah, this is secure.
High priority.
High tech.
Yeah. You go help him, Wendell. Or one of you. I don't care who.
We don't have to do this with our eyes closed, do we?
Where are you?
I'm getting ready to leave. Because I'll get voted out.
Voted out? Well, about the city.
Maybe the Russians are involved.
You could only hope. What a story that would make in the middle of the United States of America.
Hot place to be.
We're going to get them from the inside, right?
You want to verify that box?
Well, that seems good to me.
Sandbag and
Good grief.
takes a while.
Is that collusion over there?
Records. Well, I locked the key inside the
To
box.
count 10 back.
Well, don't tell me that.
No Chads, no. Oh, we didn't have
Nobody
Chads.
else.
No.
Torn Chad.
Do we need to keep these for the file?
Yes. Do we? Well, I have. Okay. If you don't want me to, okay. I don't know that it's on the short. Yeah. There. Maybe I'll
Prove
or something like that.
Do we turn it into the treasurer?
No, she can't touch him
Oh,
yet.
She's secretary.
Oh, that's
She
right.
was part of the voting. She can have them when you express what the results
That's
are.
right. I'm in his district.
Oh, yeah.
we're calling it investigation into this.
Call CBS, NBC, ABC.
Fox News.
But they'll be the fair one, right?
Okay, what's our results?
So we had two candidates
Yep.
for District 2.
2 votes.
Kim Meyer got 5 votes. There were no other votes for no other parties. You were the only candidate, the only votes. That's pretty much just it. District 3, on the Michelin, there were no write-ins. She got 4 votes.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Okay, then are the results. So now I guess we're going to do the nominations of officers. So, somebody make some kind of a nomination.
motion that all officers remain the same.
I'll second. All in favor?
No, like I said, any more discussion?
Did this down right.
Nomination speech.
I hear the railroad coming.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The officers all remain the same. And we'll check out the minutes for the last meeting. We'll have a motion to accept the minutes as presented if somebody wants to do so.
So,
I'll second the motion.
Rhonda made a motion to accept the minutes as presented, and Craig seconded. Any more discussion on the minutes from the last meeting? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Monthly financial report.
Under income for March, we have grants, e-community funds, from the Kansas Center for Entrepreneurship of $1,524.19. This is e-community funds. So for all the expenses for the Ice House Think Like an Entrepreneur class, we were able to get some funding from Network Kansas as a sponsorship for some of the licenses. We got some money from the North Central Regional Planning Commission. So basically anything else that was left of expenses, we could reimburse ourselves through our e-community funds. So this is our e-community funds coming back to us for that program. Interest income for loans in our unrestricted fund, $3.15 and $14.55. Interest from our RBAG loans, ones were $6.55, $65.20, $16.58, $6.45, $69.35, $98.36, $78.56, and $373.24. Interest income off of Startup Kansas loans is $87.77, $42.13, and $98.42. Interest income from just our regular bank accounts, 95 cents, 61.43, 32 cents, 21.58, 43 cents, and 44 cents. Loan processing fees, we have 3 entries for $25 each. Under miscellaneous income, this is a little bit of a goof in that I deposited a check from me for $436.27. So last month I got a check from Economic Development for $436.27 to reimburse myself for different expenses. And because I bank at Citizen State Bank, when I went to deposit the check in my account, they deposit it into Economic Development account. So that's they've done it before.
The roundabouters.
Yes, so they've done it before, and usually I'm really watch it when to make sure wherever I'm depositing money, it went into the right account. But apparently I wasn't watching this time around. So next month we're going to have to pull that back out. So I apologize because that does not look good. But anyway, I've made a donation this month, and I will be asking for it back next month.
Oh, that's how that works. Okay.
We have an over-under deposit of $641. And then we have, this is under income, but it's actually expenses. So as part of the Ice House Think Like an Entrepreneur class, we had all the registrations come in, but for those who attended 4 out of the 5 classes and filled out a survey at the end of the class, they were reimbursed all but $25 of that registration fee. So these are all the reimbursements. I don't know if I can go through every one of them, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 reimbursements of $75 each, and then 4 reimbursements of $100 each. I think for the most part, out of all the people that registered, there were only 5 or 6 that didn't meet the qualifications. So that's on that side. For expenses, we have a $5 service charge from the bank because we went below the minimum balance that we have to maintain in there. The business revitalization grant to your other family doctor, $1,000. This is a reimbursement for the work that we approved last month. Jane Hansen Leadership Project Swab Eaton, $1,594.50. This was another bill for the Living Healthy Master Plan project, the Strategic Master Plan project. Interest expense, we had to transfer to the Kansas Center for Entrepreneurship payments for different loans. So 8931, 4254, and 124. Advertising to the Lincoln Sentinel. This is for an ad, $135. Wakanda Trader for table tents, $51.27. The Chambers, this is for their annual banquet, $25. Eagle Communications, $43.55. Under payroll, QuickBooks payroll fee of $350. Kelly Larson, $48.63.33. Chris Heinze, $666.50. Under FICA, Kelly Larson, $276.73, and Chris Heinze, $38.22. Under Medicare, Kelly Larson, $64.71, Chris Heinze, $8.94. And then some more expenses related to the Ice House Think Like an Entrepreneur program. Brian Richter was the facilitator, so $29.18.56. That was his facilitator fee and travel expenses. And then Rhonda Mishler, $27.30, and that was because Rhonda provided food for one of the classes, so reimbursing her for the class. Any questions on that? Does that make sense?
If there's no questions, we'll file it subject to audit.
What's that?
I said, I didn't, Merlin was sitting over there. I got stopped up and moved. I hadn't seen
Oh.
I was like, it came in.
Under Chris's marketing report, last month, the countywide real estate open house, there's been a lot of work there in terms of getting ready for that. We need to do a lot of kind of work on the website, create a page for it, and right now with our real estate listings, if anybody has a house for sale or commercial property for sale, you can go online, you can fill out a form, submit it, we automatically get an email to know to go in and approve it. But so that we don't have to have another form, she's made some adjustments to that form so that people can kind of tell us if they're registering for this event or not. And so she had to kind of make some tweaks on that. And we also did a flyer in the alumni mailing. So she put this together. In the past years, we have always, I don't know if you want to see it, if any of you got it or not. So the Alumni Association would say you can put a flyer into our mailing for a donation. And so this year, they said, tell you what, if you're not using the back, you don't have to give us a donation, just print, with whatever your mailing is, and that'll, for our schedule, and that'll be your donation. So we went ahead and just did that and printed it, so we won't have to make a donation this year. But that's gone out to all of their alumni, and they asked for 1,000, and I think they pretty much use them all. So she put that together. Let's see. Did some other tweaks on the website to sign up for our email newsletter. Getting more active with putting jobs out on Facebook and trying to have some sort of nice photo to go with it. So those are the primary things. But the open house event, there was kind of a lot to go on with that. Continue with that here this next month or two.
You mean the open house for the house?
For this real estate open house, yeah. And I think I included, I don't think I printed it off actually. But in your packet that I emailed you, you can see the flyer. That's out there. So that is all there, I believe. Oh, there's another thing on the website. With Google, and I don't know what I'm talking about here, Chris does, but before, if you go to Live Lincoln County, it wasn't secure, or there's something. So now if you go to our domain, there's an HTTPS, which
designates secure.
Which says it's secure, which I think it helps us rank better in Google searches and all that stuff. Chris said we need to do that for a whole lot of reasons that I'm like, that's great. Figure it out and I go for it. That's what I don't want to figure out.
People can't hack in as easily as a lot of it is, and steal information that you have and then go to the different.
So, and there she is. The HTTPS.
Yes.
I said that's important for reasons that I cannot explain.
Yes. On websites where you purchase anything, you put in your credit card information, it needs to be secure or encrypted. And most websites, whether they take credit cards or not, have shifted in the last couple of years to being secure. So we're secure now.
And that Google likes us better now, right? Because in terms of ranking, doesn't that affect?
Yes.
In terms of how because we're secure.
Yes, and there used to be a little warning at the top that said it's not secure, and now that's gone away. So it's better for a lot of things. So I think the whole website's faster than it was before because it's not trying to connect to websites that are insecure and taking longer. So all the little things that come in to make the website. Don't know if that helps. Any with explanation of it.
I kind of just quickly went through everything. Do you have anything else you want to?
I don't have anything else to add at this time. Then it was on the report.
Okay. Director's report. Shall I move on to that? Or any questions on? Okay. So we have a business revitalization grant application from Craig and Marianne Sturts, which we've got into your packet application. If you remember, they actually applied a couple years ago when they first were working on the building, and the stipulation there was we reimburse, but you need to have a business within a certain amount of time period, and that didn't happen. But they have, obviously, they renovated the building and got 2 businesses in there. But there's still some more work to do in terms of painting the front of the building. So that is what they are applying for this time. And anybody needs to know, you probably know what the front of your building looks like.
Since I did all the work.
And let's see. So, again, with our grant, it's a 50% reimbursement up to $1,000. So the total project cost that they've got here is $1,950 is what they're estimating. So actually, this is a little wrong. It would be half of that since it's not quite 2,000. So it would be, what would that be math-wise?
$975.
$975 is what we would, they would qualify for. And they would do the work first, submit us the bills, and after everything's over, we would do a reimbursement if you would approve. Craig, I would say if you have anything to add to that, you can, but in terms of voting, we might ask you to go out there for a little while. Recuse yourself. Are there any questions or?
What is the work for?
It's for painting, basically, the front of the building. It's actually a metal front. It looks like brick, but it's metal that's been pressed to look like brick. It's all the dark spots, yeah.
I guess I didn't realize
And then you've got, I know, you can't really see it there, but so the cornice at the top, painting the windows, painting the front, painting the storefront was white and everything, so that's the plan.
I'm going to call for a vote.
I guess I'll need a motion to approve this business revitalization grant application from Craig and Mary Ann, not to exceed $1,000, but it looks like it's for $975, which is half. So I'll need a motion
I would so move to proceed.
For $975.
$975
Yeah.
upon completion of the project.
Yeah.
Wendell motion to approve and Rhonda second. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
You go find them.
What are you thinking about doing with the main part? If we're going to be living
It's a-
facility,
The
is that
upstairs.
where the coffee shop is?
Yeah, the coffee shop, yeah. It's on the first floor, and the Airbnb is on the second floor.
Okay.
You were approved for $975.
My wife will spend the money.
E-community program updates. So the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge, I forgot to do this earlier. Again, in order to reimburse ourselves with e-community funds, you guys need to make a motion to approve us utilizing e-community funds as reimbursement for expenses associated with the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge. So basically, I can't ask for them until I say that there was a motion, and I don't want to lie, so I'm going to do it right.
I so move to utilize the e-community funds for reimbursement of expenses associated with the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge.
Second.
Rhonda made the motion for approval of utilizing the East Community Funds as reimbursement for expenses associated with the Youth Challenge. David's second the motion. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. This next thing is kind of came out of the blue. So the Rural Opportunity Zone, we've talked about this several times. As a FYI, and I'm not really asking for any decision tonight, just mostly for you guys to think about it. But up until this point, with the Student Loan Repayment Assistance Program, there's two ways that somebody could be funded for that student loan repayment. Through a county pool, which has been funded through the WEB Fund. The county allocates enough money for 4,000 or 4 people for a total of $6,000. Outside of that, there's a wait list for those funds. Somebody else could have their employer be the matching funds, and so we've got one person or one employer who's funding one of their employees, and we last year created a grant to be a grant to the business to help support them for this student loan repayment of their employee. Well, now the state, I guess, is going to allow not just counties, but cities and foundations to also help be direct supporters of people. So that means if cities, let's say Sylvan Grove has a resident who's on the list and on the wait list, like we can just go ahead and as a city we can fund, support that and provide the local match. Economic development could also do that, where if we wanted to support and provide the local match, we could do that as well. I think, although I didn't get a very clear answer on this, I asked, so what's your definition of a foundation? Is that
I'm sure
anybody or any
community foundation?
It could be that, but is that basically any nonprofit? Is that what they mean? And I asked about that because I was like, well, what if the VFW wanted to sponsor someone who's maybe a veteran, or the Historical Society wanted to support somebody, just any nonprofit that's out there. And the impression that I got is that, yes, they could, but again, the answer on that wasn't very clear. So I just kind of wanted to throw this out there. And as far as I can tell, the wait list is down a little bit. A year ago, it was 10 or 11 people. I think we've got 6 now. And the reason we're down is because I think there's 2 people that kind of dropped off last year, so now the county there's 2 more people that have come up that will be supported through the county funded program. And then one person is going through the employer's route. And then I know we've lost one person who was on the wait list, has moved out of the county. There's one other person where I'm not really sure what their plans are. They might be moving out of the county that's on the list, so the list is a little shorter than it used to be, but that doesn't necessarily mean, there's still a list. So I just kind of want to throw that out there. The way I understand it with the wait list is you can't pick and choose. I kind of thought,
when they come to the top of the list, it's the top of the list.
Whoever's the top of the list, yeah. So if the foundation wanted to support somebody, we supported top of the list going down. Now for cities, it would be whoever's top of the list who's a resident of that city. So, if there's somebody on the list that's number 4, but Sylvan wanted to support somebody, but numbers 1 through 3 are not Sylvan residents, then they can support their local resident. If Barnard wanted to do that, they can, whoever's on that list. I think looking at the list here, everybody is either a Lincoln City resident or in the county. So I don't know if there's anybody who's actually in Sylvan, Barnard, or Beverly. But there's a few people I'm not 100% sure where they live, but I think they live out in the country. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there and see if you guys had any thoughts on that. I sent an email to the city clerks and Sandy at the Community Foundation. Sandy wasn't sure that they would be able to do that or not, because I don't think they can just provide funds directly to a person. They've got to they can only go to nonprofits, right? So I don't know how they could actually do this, but she was going to look into it. I don't know if this is something we want to consider for this year, or if we want to just like, well, let's think about it next year's when we're doing our budget, if that's something, or if we want to just continue what we're doing, which is we provide grant funding to businesses to sponsor their own employees. But I just wanted to throw it out there that that is a change.
Aren't we already supporting one?
Yeah.
Through, yes,
There's change.
through the employer sponsorship.
Didn't we agree to do more than one?
Yes, we've got budgeted for up to 5.
So are these people supposed to contact us, or are we supposed to reach out to them?
Well, their employer
Well,
has
the
to.
employer,
Yeah.
right. So our program is that, I guess I'll back up. With the ROS program, the student loan repayment, you can qualify, a person can qualify for up to $3,000 a year for 5 years. Half of that comes from the state, but the state requires the other half to come from some local match. But they've only allowed a county and an employer to be the local match. So what we approved is that we would provide a $500 grant to a business to help them with that local match portion, so they won't only have to put in $1,000. Well, now we can just do it ourselves. I mean, if the employers wanted to keep doing that, great. If we just wanted to cover people, we could just cover people.
Did the church
So-
help? The Lutheran church help the pastor?
Yes, yeah, that's the one employer.
I kind of like the idea of the employer helping too. Gives them a
I
more
do. I
incentive
think
for
it's an
everybody.
incentive. Yeah.
Everybody's got a little more skin in the game.
Maybe we can put another deal in the paper saying that there's going to be some changes, but we're currently doing this, and a little reminder for the
Yeah,
businesses out
Yeah.
there maybe.
and usually, I mean, this program's pretty quiet until about August and September, and that's when the deadlines start hitting for that year's, if you're going to get that year's reimbursement or not. So,
So have we ever contacted any of these people and say, hey, get together with your employer?
I know I've sent an email out to all of them saying, here's a program, contact your employer. A few of them responded, and I tried to give them a little bit more information, but it didn't go anywhere.
They're on the list, but they don't want to do anything.
I think a couple of the employers like, well, we provide a benefit, a financial benefit to this employee, and
That's
the
right.
other ones are going to be
It's
wondering,
a
well, where's
hard
mine?
thing. Who's the one that went
So-
to school and incurred the debt?
Well,
I mean, that's
yeah, and I could see it both ways. You know, here you're trying to help somebody, but in other ways, like, well, then if you've got other employees who are going to be like, hey, I
Guarantee
didn't
you,
get.
every other employee in that building is figuring out, okay, they're helping him out $500. How are they gonna help me out $500?
So,
Every single one of them has got the calculator going.
so I think that's probably a problem with some of the other ones. There was one who said, like, oh, I would feel kind of bad about the employer sponsoring me because I'm not sure I want to stick around this particular business that long, and so I don't want, so that I would put that more on the person side and not necessarily the employers. So there's just a lot of different hidden factors, I think, that go into it. But I just want to throw it out there. Think about it. If you feel like we should change what we're doing or offering up more for us, then let me know. So that's all that I wanted to let you know on that. The Healthy Living Master Plan. So I just about put this in your packet, and then I realized you guys would probably quit the board if you got a 50-page board agenda packet. And I didn't want to kill any paper. So the strategic doing process, there's a group that's been working on trails, park improvements, bathrooms in the park here, park around the Saline River Dam. So again, Schwab Eaton was hired. This committee got grant funding. Economic Development's been the pass-through for that grant funding. And the master plan is done. So we are, as a committee, we are going to be organizing a public presentation on Tuesday, April 30th at 7 p.m. in Vesper. The idea is to really go through all of this stuff. If we could have city council members from all the cities and the county commission there, that would be great because they have a role in this plan. The first step is that we need them to adopt the master plan. That's really, in terms of applying for grant funding, if you can say the city has adopted this master plan, the county has adopted this master plan, it just really kind of gets our foot in the door. If for some of these grants, if it hasn't been adopted locally, then it's just paper. So instead of having Schwab Eaton asking them to go around and present to every single city council, we're hoping we can just do this once, invite the public, have everybody hear what the plans are, have a chance to ask questions, and then after that point, as a committee, we can go around to the city councils and ask for adoption and start the next phase. And in my mind, anyway, the next phase is that this master plan, the idea behind it is that there's projects in here that can stand alone. So you can pull a piece of it. If there's a group of people that are really interested in the trail in Sylvan Grove, they can pull out information in it and they can run with it. They can start applying for grants and so forth. Same with here in Lincoln. So at this point, I kind of feel like our strategic doing committee's project is pretty much complete as a county-wide committee, but now it's going to be hopefully getting some more localized people on board and saying, okay, who's passionate about taking on these different pieces and running with it. So I think there's some really interesting stuff in here. I think there's some really wonderful things in here that could really add some amenities to the county and improving the quality of life and people's hopefully interest in living here, moving here, being more active. So I guess I would invite all of you to be at the public presentation that night and hear what is going on. I'm going to put this on our website so that anybody can access it and look at it. So that's kind of,
Maybe you can email us a reminder.
yes, I will do that. And I'll text you once you get it.
Yeah, sometimes I don't look at the emails for a week.
Yeah. Did Jennifer talk about this at the city council?
I didn't speak up.
Oh, okay.
I had another
Okay.
commitment, so.
I thought she was going to.
I think so. If I don't remember the agenda, she talked about the
Okay.
master plan. We're still fighting all the other junk.
Literally. I was at the Lincoln City Council meeting the other night and told them about this, so. Any questions on that? We should be getting one last bill from Schwab Eaton to kind of close it out, I guess you could say. All right, the next thing that Chris and I have been working on is this countywide real estate open house. We scheduled it for Saturday, June 8th from 9 a.m. to noon. The idea with the open house is there's been a lot of houses that have just been sitting on the market for a while. It seems like we've just got some stagnant stuff going on. So the idea is if we can create an event, create some buzz where we can actually start attracting maybe people from outside of the county to come in. It's like, hey, it's worth my time to come to Lincoln or Sylvan or wherever to take, it's worth the drive. And I'll, once I make that drive, I'll be able to look at a couple different places, and maybe for some people to buy a house. As part of it, we're going to do an employer's meet and greet, so that anybody who is looking at a house and they would like to have a more local job, they want to get out of Salina, they want to get out of Junction City or wherever, it's an opportunity for them to talk with employers. I'm not thinking of it as a formal career fair. It's more of, I would think of it more as a social hour kind of thing. Have some coffee, have some cookies, come in, what, if somebody walks in and says, what are you interested in, what's your background, and they say, well, I'm this, like, hey, you should go talk to so-and-so over here and have it be a little bit more of a casual conversation. What's that? Network, yeah. Also kind of have a welcome booth there. The employers meet and greet would be at the Lincoln Art Center. And so if we have kind of welcome booth, if anybody's looking for information about the community, thought about having someone from the schools there, kind of talk about the schools and just have an opportunity to meet people. So the timeline is that up until now to May 1st is when we need property owners and realtors to sign up their properties to register and employers to let us know about jobs. Then we're going to have a few days where Chris is going to work some magic on the website where everything is put out there. And then May 1st for houses and for properties and jobs to be on the website. And then on May 6th is when we kind of go live with our marketing campaign, where we hope to do a lot on social media. If we get a minimum of, I don't remember, 10, is that what I said? Properties, and we'll do radio ads in the Salina and Junction City areas, what we've kind of thought about. So really try and market the event well. What else? There's something else I was going to say. I can't remember. So I hope that we can get some houses who participate. It's $50 per property, which to me is a good deal, considering that's $50 doesn't go very far if you're trying to market your house on your own or for a realtor or something like that. So
To sign up?
You're saying this is going to be just a 3-hour event?
yeah. When I talked to the realtors about this, they were like, people only come in. It's 10-15 minutes is all somebody needs to walk in and out of the house. And I got the impression.
But to drive from here to Sylvan is 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And to come back, and if I were selling a house, I wouldn't give you $50 for an opportunity for a small amount of time for people to come in and look.
Well, they can also, and in my mind too, so leading up to this event, and I kind of hope this happens, where if there's a house hunter who's like, hey, I can't make that day for whatever reason, I have no problem with them calling and making another appointment to come in beforehand. Maybe somebody's like, I want to get in and look at this house before I think that there's going to be a whole bunch of people come through that day, and so if people want to make appointments at other times.
Because you're doing a job fair and inviting people to come look at houses.
Yeah.
3 hours is a really small window, especially if you're wanting somebody to drive from somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's like you start at 9. I probably wouldn't leave the house until 9.
Yeah. Honestly, the realtors that I talked to, I didn't know if I could get them for longer than that. I mean, I got the impression that they only want to be around for an hour.
Time is money, too.
So I kind of felt, okay, if we do a 3-hour window and we allow people, if they want to make it go longer, if somebody says, hey, I can't be there until 2 o'clock.
Like I said, I don't want to make it, I'm with you. Like a day-long thing,
Yeah.
but I don't.
Well, we'll see.
But
I mean, if we've got a lot of,
I can't even
like
offer my
something-
help, so.
I also felt like, okay, so we're going to have employers sitting around all day on a Saturday, and what if only 2 people come? They just sit their whole day, so.
It's an investment or it's not an investment, I don't know.
So I just felt like, let's start it like this, and it'll be a learning year. And go from there.
Yeah, and it is, that's a start.
I kind of thought, June is wedding season, so Saturday, actually one of the realtors was kind of like, I already got a wedding to go to, and so I'm like, well, if we do it in the morning, and maybe people can do it and still make their weddings that they got to go to that afternoon and evening, so, I don't know. I kind of felt like no matter how you time it in weekends, it's just going to be, it will be a busy weekend as well. The Chamber's going to do their citywide garage sales that day, and then the Kansas Genealogy Society is doing their annual conference, and it's going to be here in Lincoln that day. So there's going to be a lot of activity going on, hopefully. Which I think is a
What
great
was
thing.
the other one, the genealogy and what?
Garage sale.
Garage
Garage
sales.
sale. In Lincoln.
It's Lincoln County, but then also I thought if we probably should stretch it a little beyond the county lines, and I kind of just decided I was going to do this, so hopefully you guys disagree, we can argue about it for next year.
It's been nice to know.
But so, and the thought was, one, it'd be a little strange for the Wilson Lake area where you've got one house that can participate, but a house that's literally right across the road can't participate. And I feel like there's some properties there. We need to show that we've got a wide variety of housing options here, because people just don't want to move to a place and feel like they're stuck with that one dilapidated house as their only option. So we need to show a wide range of housing options in this area. So that was one idea, is if we can kind of pull in the Wilson Lake area. But then I got to thinking, well, if just a few miles, so within 5 miles of the county line, that pulls in Lucas, Wilson, Contescot, Hunter, and Ada as well. Lucas, again, we're outside county area, so people might say, hey, there doesn't benefit us, but, if a house sells in Lincoln, or Lucas, that's another kid in the school district, essentially, which is then helping us all out. So, but I couldn't figure out how to say, well, Lucas is in, but Wilson isn't, and blah, blah, blah. So I just,
It's,
if
you,
it's
and
within
you
a
have to get
5-mile
more.
radius.
That's what we're limiting ourselves, because you have to almost think regional.
Yeah.
And we're the space between Saline and Hayes to a degree.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, we're not a center, but we are. Mm-hmm. And there's so many things that we're, I think, discounting ourselves on because of that. It's like, well, no, this is just for Lincoln, but we're all interacting with one another in many ways, not only the schools, churches, businesses. It's not, we just have to change the thinking for that boundary.
And with the new business coming in over in Russell, that we found out about the other day at the court
Yeah.
meeting.
Potentially, yeah. It goes both ways too in terms of our employers. If somebody's working in Lucas, that doesn't mean they can't work here. We do need to tap into a wider region to fill the jobs that we have here. So, if somebody ends up buying a house in Lucas, I think that's great. Mm-hmm. That's another people in this area. And yes, Russell, it sounds like there's a big project that's going to be happening there. There's potentially a lot of jobs coming. So, if that helps boost our real estate market, great, because there's people buying houses. So if they are out of the county, the registration fee is $75 though instead of $50. So I kind of thought maybe that would,
For the open house.
yes, to participate, to list their house as part of the open house. So between now and May, the goal is getting properties to sign up for this. I've done a few email blasts here. Another thing I want to do is contact Fort Riley directly, because I've heard that they can actually kind of set up day trips for people who maybe are starting to come out of the military, try and connect them with community. So I'm going to see how that program actually works to see if, hey, if we can get a few Fort Riley folks who are going to be retiring, then maybe we can get them out here to look. And then also employers to list their jobs. And I would hope that they're not just listing jobs that are available right now, but people need to plan ahead. And a lot of times, just because a job is available right now, that doesn't work for them. They need to kind of think ahead. Maybe they're like, I want to move. I'd love to move and live in Lincoln County, but I don't want to do that until, my kid starts school or my kid graduates from school, or, I've just started a job here a year or two ago and I don't want to move until I'm fully vested in that, and then I can that 401k and then I can move. So they need to plan ahead. So I'd like employers to also be thinking about how do we start recruitment efforts for jobs that are available 6 months from now or a year from now. So if there's any companies where, hey, you've got retirement pending, is there a way that we could put on the website as, looking for a welder, anticipated hiring date of spring 2020, so that way during this employer's meet and greet, like, hey, this is great. Oh, you're not quite ready to move yet. Well, let's take your contact information. We'll contact you a year from now, kind of thing. And so we can start getting some names in the hopper. I think that's a little different thinking for employers, but I would like them to start kind of promoting the jobs that are coming up in that way. And we'll see. Any questions or thoughts on any of that? Okie dokie. The next thing is OCCK, which I don't know what that stands for, but they're occupational something. Is going to be starting a bike sharing program. I'm not exactly sure how it works on their side, but I assume that they've got some grant funding available. And so in 8 North Central County areas, they are going to be bringing in a bike sharing program. And I think I put some information in your packet. Here's what the bike racks would look like. OCCK, they're partnering with Zaxter, which is a nationwide company that has a bike sharing program where they've got an app. So the idea is if you want to use a bike, you go to your app, you pay for the bike, it gives you the code to unlock it, you unlock it, you do whatever you need to do, you bring it back, you lock it up, and you're good. So there's really no local management that's needed from the way I understand it. So Lincoln is going to be one of the 8 places that they are offering to bring this bike rack. They've been asking me for locations of where this should go, and I kind of feel like, well, I don't want to be the one to decide where it goes. So I'm kind of asking for your opinion here. It could go in the park. It seems like a very reasonable place to put it, but my concern is out of sight, out of mind, dark place, vandalism. It's just a little more secluded, so people trying to do something to the bikes, I just think it's a little riskier of a place. So if we look downtown, the 3 places that I thought about was right next to City Hall, on the courthouse square here or across the street at the Radish Patch. All of them are pretty out in the open, you know, so it just seems like it would be, of course there could always be vandalism, but hopefully a little lighter with street lights, more out in the open, people will be discouraged from doing that. So LCCK, I kind of feel like in order to tell them who to approach, I need to, you know, if it's on City Hall property, I need to tell you, you gotta go talk to City Council. If it's on courthouse property, you need to go talk to the County Commission. So I'm kind of just curious what people think would be the best location. So far it seems leaning towards the courthouse square here in kind of this corner. But I want to get some other opinions before I say OCCK. I think you need to approach the County Commission about this. The one thing that would be required is they need to put some concrete down. The bike rack needs to be set in concrete. I don't know, I've asked them if there's funds to pay for that concrete, and I haven't heard back from them or not. If there aren't, I thought about, well, maybe we approach the Web Fund Committee because they've got a meeting coming up here to pay for the materials, and if we can get somebody to volunteer to do it.
If there's thoughts of vandalism, why not have it over by the sheriff's department?
Well,
Right on that street.
yeah, I guess I don't know. Does that get a little bit more out of sight, out of mind? You know, if you're not necessarily seeing it on the main street. I don't know. I mean, I think it's. I would hate it to be too tucked away, just
Well,
because.
or even that corner then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's true.
just
Maybe that
off to
corner.
Then it's
Maybe.
supposed to have parking in the front and parking.
Yeah, you have plenty of parking. I mean,
Maybe more visible or,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
I mean,
still-
if somebody's gonna bother it, I suppose they would, wherever it's at, but,
well, it's not going to be quite as easy.
yeah, I would think.
You got all the cops sitting out there smoking cigarettes, keeping an eye on them.
Hey, you, leave that alone.
So there's an app, and you look for the bike, and you pay for it to use it.
I've
What is the
seen-
fee? What? Yeah, I've seen it too in big cities where there's a large population base. But is there actually a need for this in Lincoln County? I mean,
this is an OCCK project, so they just approached me and said this is coming. And
Yeah, if we pour a slab for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or if there's
I mean, who
Information
is going
is
to rent these bikes?
it could be locals, you know, if there's a
And what do they
tourist
charge?
Airbnb. I
I don't know.
I know that somewhere, but I don't think I brought that notes. It's you can by the hour, by the day, or if you wanted to just have a monthly membership fee, that would probably be for an urban area where you know you're going to use a bike a lot. I do think this is, from what OCCK told me, is that this is a very, like the first in the possibly country where there's been a rural push for bike sharing. So I think.
Well, the lake.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be.
So I'm just kind of trying to get an idea of where it seems like would be the best spot so that I can tell OCCK this is who you need to approach first. Because I don't want to send them on a wild goose chase, in terms of getting approval. Because the impression that I get is it's coming. So,
do we want to be a part of it? Is basically what you're asking.
well, where's if it's coming, where specifically should the bikes be placed? Like I said, I don't want to make the decision. I feel like, if I can have some other people kind of help me out, figure out this is what we think is the best space, then I can feel somewhat confident when I tell okay that
Looks like
if you need to approach City Hall first, then that's what you need to
it
approach
would make a
first.
little more sense there on that corner of where the old gas station was, and then over here at the corner of where the window shop is.
Oh, across the way there.
Where the veterinarian sits.
Yeah.
And that's a little more open, and it's right on Main Street.
Yeah, I just didn't know if you
It's
put it on
not-
private property, then
Oh, so they
then
don't
is
want.
how
put it on private.
No, this is just me thinking, like, well, okay, is it better to put it on some public property as opposed to trying to work with a property owner?
Either that or the park. To me, the park makes more sense.
Again, I'm just worried out of sight, out of mind, increased concern for vandalism there. But, so,
I'd say on Main Street in front of the rec office.
And that's
I
another
don't think on the sidewalk.
And how many bikes would you have? Are you
I
going
think
to
there's
have
gonna be 5.
5?
One rack holds 5.
And how many racks are they thinking?
I think just one.
Oh, so they're not putting one on all spots.
No,
No,
there's just one spot would be the best.
Yeah. So
So
where's
I'd
the one
say
spot?
I'd put one out
Yeah,
the lake
yeah.
and put one in Sylvan. You could put one in. But I'm still like wondering how many people truly would,
Yeah.
and how much it would cost. I guess
They kind of want it to be easily
$5 a
accessible.
trip. I don't know. I mean, for how long? I think it's a good idea. I just not sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's it's a cool idea. It's not costing us locally here anything, I guess. And it'll be interesting to see. They can monitor the usage. If it's gone 3 years without anybody using it, then I think they probably don't get their answer. But who knows? We might have more visitors to town than we know who would use it. But we don't see them using bikes right now, so therefore we don't think that they would. But maybe if there were some there, people would be using it. I don't know.
And who maintains the bikes?
I believe it's either OCCK or Zagster. There's the partnership between OCCK and Zagster for that. The impression that I got is from a local perspective, this is just where you put it. Yeah. But
One of those things that Healthy Living didn't get on their agenda to a degree. I mean, that's goes along.
Yeah, well, who would have thought that? I mean, in my mind, like, this is... Who would have thought? It's a cool idea, but... I don't think in terms of...
Well, a lot of
us,
people that
money.
bike have their own bikes. I mean, and then, but I don't know. It's a concept. I just got to work around my head, I guess.
So, from your guys' perspective, is there a best place, that I should kind of say, okay, here's the direction that I think you guys should go, or at least approach?
They're asking you for specific location.
Yes.
Somewhere in the downtown area.
Like I said, to
Yeah,
the
they
park or
probably
the
just
park
need
or
to-
right.
Well, I kind of want to give them, because somewhere in the downtown, like, well,
Put them around
so
the
do I say
courthouse.
go talk to City Hall first?
I'd
County
say
first, a property owner?
talk to the county about putting them on this area
Wall.
somewhere.
Okay.
And then let the Zagster guy or the OCCK guy go, oh, I like this corner or I like that corner. Because if you pick the middle, he'll go, I like it over here. If you pick the corner, he'll say, I want it over there. So just give them a square block and say, pick a
Yeah,
box.
that or
As long as
park.
it's not where Mike Weigel parks. That he'll drive over in his big fancy pickup.
Maybe they can actually pick a spot where there's already a pad.
Yeah.
All they have to do is fasten down
Yeah.
if they're wanting to do it that
Yeah.
manner.
All right. Well, I'll say that
Courthouse
Square. So you need to talk to the county commission. I guess
John
ultimately that I
John
just need to
did
tell them
one
where to
on
talk
that.
to.
On the corner there where the old gas station was. Where
Oh, the one just right across the street.
Jensen's used to have.
Oh, no.
Across the street.
Danny Knight owns it.
Oh, Danny Knight owns that.
Yeah, right west of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that
But that wouldn't be a bad
kind of looks
spot.
like I don't know.
You could put it right up against the wall next to the hair salon there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's out of the way.
Might ask him about putting it on private property.
Yeah.
That's on the lake.
Sense there.
So if I'm parking my bike and I fall and break my leg, now who gets sued?
Sorry.
Somebody will be sued.
Yeah, but like I said, I just kind of want to know where to point them first. And if it doesn't work, you know, they've got other options, but I just don't want to send them on a wild goose chase either. All right, next up, partnership with the chamber. Just to let you know, they've hired a temporary office worker, Shaylin Crone, who's going to be working there. What's her hours?
I think they only did 10 till 1.
10 to 1.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay. And in terms of their nonprofit status or the 501c status, I think Colleen is submitting information on that. Instead of trying to work with whatever the status that they had, they're just going to try and start fresh. Is kind of the impression that I got. So reapplying for their 501c status. So she's got to submit information on all that. And, I don't know if it's been turned in or not yet.
It didn't sound like it.
Okay.
Monday, Tuesday.
So anyway, if you see Shailen's name pop up on the chamber, that's why. Another thing just coming up, thinking ahead almost a year. So the 2020 census is next year, and the federal government is gearing up for this whole process. I sat in on a meeting a couple weeks ago where you kind of got, I think I included in your packet what the timeline is. Right now, the push, or what they're trying to do is get, on local levels, the creation of complete count committees. The idea is, how do we make sure that in our local area, every single person completes the survey? This is a huge deal. It's all about, and the way that the gal put it, it's all about money and power. Money is because so much of federal government funding is based on census data. So in order for us to have our best chance at getting our piece of that pie, we need to have every single person counted here. And then in terms of power, it all goes down to how many representatives you have and so forth. So it's really important that next year, when it comes time to do a survey, we get every single person counted. And so the idea is, if we can start establishing committees and getting words out, getting people to understand how important this is, and the way I also understand it, so April 1st is Census Day. Whoever who doesn't fill out their survey, eventually it gets to the point where there are people who are coming knocking on your doors to get you to fill out that survey. And of course that costs money, so it's just kind of like, everybody who wants the federal government to work efficiently needs to fill out their survey on April 1st so that the government doesn't have to spend money chasing you down to fill it out.
Just call IRS.
So, I haven't really thought about this yet in terms of, so is this a role that economic development needs to have in terms of starting a complete count committee, or if we do it, every city has a complete count committee. I don't know, but anyway, this is kind of be a bigger topic of discussion here as we move throughout the year. And it's just going to be incredibly important that every single person who lives here be counted, because we really need every single
Well,
person.
they don't want to be counted.
Yeah, and in terms of the big question on the survey and in terms of citizenship, I guess that's going to be decided here pretty soon. But there's a whole lot of hubbub about that citizenship question on there. But either way,
If you answer,
if you're here, yes, if they are here, whether they're legally here or not, they still have to be counted. They still have to be counted. And that's another part with this complete committee is how do you get into those populations where we need every single person to fill out the survey, no matter what their background is, citizenship, whatever. Every single person needs to.
Nobody's in the basement.
We need to know how many people's in the basement. We need to know, everybody. And then they also, they were talking about, well, so what about people who are in nursing homes or jail or
They count them.
kids in school and stuff like that. And so, what's that?
They're easy to count.
They're very easy to
contained.
count. But it was really interesting, the conversation in terms of, how do you count these people, like kids who are in college? They don't count here. They count where they're going to school. It's where you are on April 1st. That's where the survey, that number
Well,
counts.
that's something I think that's changed over the years, because it used to be you can't, wherever your base was, is where you were counted.
It's kids who are in college count where they're going to college. So, there's just kind of a lot of those
Somebody
different
changed
things.
it.
So anyway,
Well, they'll
I
never
just
get
kind
it
of
right
wanted to.
anyway, so.
But we want it at a local level. We really, we need every person for our own benefit.
Count
for
ballots,
voting
let
power.
alone people.
Did you screw up the ballot count? Was there really 6 instead of 5 votes?
Didn't have any more than 5.
You know what they ought to do is just tell everyone to buy a lottery ticket, because they can figure that out overnight.
Go take lessons from the lottery.
Give everybody in America $2 and we buy a lottery ticket.
All right, so I just wanted to let you know on that because, like I said, I expect there to be more conversation about the census throughout the year here. The Historic Preservation Fund projects for the surveys of downtown Lincoln, Sylvan Grove, and the City Park here, we're kind of stalled out. The Kansas Historical Society, they've got all the information. Brenda Spencer has submitted all her information there, and we're kind of waiting on them to review it. There's a few properties where they're kind of on the line, and so it's kind of like Brenda Spencer, the consultants, put them on this side of the line, but we need to have a conversation with the state to see if they agree with that or if that flips them over to this side of whether they're historic or not. So we're just kind of waiting for that conversation to happen. And then once we do that, the survey reports should be done fairly soon. On the old high school here in town, the National Register, that is on the agenda for May 4th, I believe, for the State Historic Review Board meeting, for them to approve or not. If it's approved, then it's immediately listed on the Kansas Historical Register, but then the nomination is sent to the National Park Service, and then they've got a certain amount of time, I can't remember if it's 45 days or 60 days, something like that, to determine whether they approve it for the National Register listing or not. So that's where we are in that process. Back to the surveys. Once we do know everything from the state and how things are, once we get their survey reports back, then there'll be another public meeting in both Sylvan and Lincoln that will organize to kind of go through everything and explain what this means and what our next steps can be and so forth. Last thing in terms of project updates, the county's tax foreclosure list, we talked about that a little bit last month, but it has since been published in the newspaper. I believe from what we talked about last month, 2 properties have fallen off the list, or where they've paid up. One of the properties I think is sold, so it's actually been listed in the newspaper, but I'm assuming that as part of that sale, they had to make all the back taxes current, so I'm assuming that's going to come off the list. But on here anyway, there's 33 properties. So I just wanted to let you guys know where things are on that. As I was putting this together, I remembered that last month I said I was going to send the information to you and Jennifer and all the county clerks, and I never did. So I will do that in terms of where exactly those properties are. And again, the way I understand it, up until the point of publishing, property owners who are delinquent on their taxes, they could pay up to, is it the 2 or 3 years behind, for some of them that were way behind, they could just pay it up to that point, and they wouldn't be on the published list. But once it's published, now you have to pay everything. You have to have everything current. So that's where we are there. So I just wanted to let you guys know about that if you didn't see it published in the paper. Any questions on that? In terms of business updates, U.S. Towers was at the city council meeting the other night, and they are looking at industrial revenue bonds for their expansion project. Travis Salter was there, and he presented to the council in terms of what they're planning to do. Which pretty much includes expanding almost in every direction off of the building. They've got 4 phases. I think, I didn't add it up, but as part of this, there's going to be 20 to 25 new jobs that they're looking at. And let's see, they would like to start construction late summer. I think that's a little ambitious in terms of this industrial revenue bond process, if they're approved for that, but that's what they would like. The industrial revenue bonds, it's complicated in terms of how it all works, but basically what that gets them, or what they're requesting, is a sales tax exemption on their construction costs. So any construction materials, some of this equipment that they're bringing in, they would be exempt from sales tax on that. And then also property tax abatement program. So they would have to pay, the abatement would not be on the property that's there right now. They would still be paying taxes on all of that, but there would be an abatement on this new construction. Yes, is what they're going to be requesting. So at the city council meeting the other night, besides Travis, there was an attorney from Gilmore and Bell out of Wichita, and they're pretty much, it seems like they do all the bond stuff for all the cities. And so to explain to them what it is, what these IRBs are, and just answer any questions from the city council. So it's more of an informational meeting. May is when they're going to be actually looking for a decision in order for them to maintain their schedule. So at that point is when the city would decide yes or no, and the process would move forward. A couple things that's different with industrial revenue bonds than typical bonds is the city is not on the hook for industrial revenue bonds. So they just sort of allow the bonds to happen. But if U.S. Tower goes belly up, leaves town, the city is not obligated for any of those bonds. So really from a city's perspective, there's no risk there. They are not on the hook for any of that stuff. The cost of putting the IRB together is all on U.S. Tower. So in terms of all the attorney fees and everything, that's all billed to U.S. Tower.
Then explain to me again,
I don't know if it's complicated.
where does the money come from? Okay, these bonds, I mean, does like Craig go down and buy $100,000.
No,
worth
and that's
of-
where things get really, really complicated.
Or
It's
who-
basically
Who
the,
fronts the money that from?
Who are they borrowing money from?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious.
Yes.
I don't care.
yeah, and this is where it gets really
It's
screwy
complicated.
because usually the company buys the bonds themselves. It's so, and this is what I kind of thought of it.
Basically, all they're trying to do, they front the money themselves, but they would like to have sales tax exemption on the materials and property tax abatement,
Yes,
basically.
yeah.
That
From,
help.
yes, the attorney's thing is it's the paperwork that's got to be in place.
Is that
That
something
allows
kind of like what Century did at that time?
They get in there,
Because they had
they got a tax abatement.
abatement
Yeah.
against their machinery and whatnot inside the, do you remember? And maybe all that
I
new
know that.
construction.
Yeah, I
The
know.
Tom Lott did that in Minneapolis when he built his building.
Okay,
So he went to the city council and he says, you pass IRBs. Then Tom bought them all.
yeah,
So he gets the tax abatements and he gets the other benefits. And then whatever interest there is on the IRB is tax-free. So he got to take his own money, pay himself back, get the interest on his own money, and get it all tax-free. So it's just a big loophole for the
Paperwork.
wealthy is what it is. It's a big loophole
Paperwork.
for the wealthy.
well, but I'm just, so I kind of.
So I guess you're out.
I'm interested.
And when they
I
make
shouldn't
their,
say that.
when they make their payments to the RRB, it's like making a lease payment. It's 100% tax deductible.
Sure. So they expense the whole thing.
Yeah.
How many years then is it until they get them all paid back or
So
so?
we'll have a time limit.
Yeah, it'll
Yeah,
have
it's
time. It
time.
can go up to 10 years.
I see,
Yeah.
but okay.
Did
Just
they
look at
mention
that
a
online.
project cost?
Okay.
They had it
You're really confused.
all up there, and I want to say it's about $5 million between construction and the equipment.
Oh,
Well, that would seem about reasonable though, and it's a big project.
Yeah, they're coming off the, and I don't think, if you want to see, I don't think I brought my stuff here, but
Well,
the
I mean,
plan
to put
in
it
terms
in
of where they're
perspective,
building
these
all
schools
out.
cost $25 million or something, you know, I mean, it's.
some of them tools are $1 million a piece,
Yeah,
them computerized
yeah, I would
Laser.
say it's almost half of it's just the
tooling.
equipment, yeah,
And
in terms of what they're bringing in.
for instance, like in Lucas, you know, we took a little tour through there here a month or two ago at Great Plains. All that, did they do that over there when they expanded with new
At Great Plains.
computerized welders?
I'm not sure.
I mean,
I don't know.
or not?
I don't know. Because Quebec, or not
Or did
Quebec.
they just bite the bullet and they're paying through the nose?
Because
to
the
some
Japanese,
county
or
for
some company.
all their machinery.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
So between now and the May council meeting, one of the requirements is that a cost benefit analysis is done to kind of say, okay, the city's cost in terms of the exemptions and abatements, whatever, is going to be this, but the benefit is going to be this, and so that's kind of how you justify or base whether you do it or not. So Doug McKinney is working on this cost benefit analysis. I've tried to provide a little bit of information. I think U.S. Tower is going to have to provide some more as well, just their own numbers for salaries and a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of factors that go into it. So Doug is working on that. That will be done by the May meeting.
Yeah, Doug will have to meet with them.
Yeah.
So the question is, if they say they're going to bring 25 jobs and they bring 12, do they get the full? Is there any recourse on them for not doing what they say they're going to do? That's because they very rarely do. If you follow any of them, they very rarely fill their obligations. But it is what it is.
So we puff it up.
Huh?
They puff it up. And make it look really.
Oh, they might want to hire 25 people, but it just may not be that 25 people want to come to Lincoln.
Well, it sounds like they're still struggling getting employees, aren't they? Or are they filled up now? Because I thought they were still hiring.
No, they're still hiring.
That's what I thought. They just,
But some of them
Everybody's
they've
still
hired now are gonna run some of the new equipment they're planning on getting. So do you count them jobs that they've already
New
hired?
jobs.
You can't.
Yeah.
wow.
So anyway, I just want to let you guys know.
It's positive if they're wanting to grow. That's what
Well, I think
the bottom line is.
Yeah.
beggars like us can't be choosers, and they've
Be
You have
happy
to get
they're
rid of
there.
that
they've got a
mentality,
track
though.
record for being here for however long now, and they are
And they're busy. I mean,
they are busy.
they're really busy.
Gosh,
Just another thing, car wash here in Lincoln has sold, has new owners. I'm not sure who the name is. I saw it in the paper.
Jet wash out of Hayes.
Jet wash. Well, that was the name of the NBC LLC or something like that is what I saw in the paper today. But so that sold, and it's a car wash. They do car washes, so hopefully it
Yeah.
means that they're going to reopen it here.
Yeah, they've been out there cleaning, doing some stuff.
Wow, they did
And
that
the
then.
storage units are with it too, I believe.
Yeah.
The ones right south of it. They were looking in them the other day too. I noticed them there.
Do they have a plan for when they're going to open it?
I didn't talk to them.
Okay.
My wife has, but
And then Prairie Land Game Birds, their hatchery and incubator is up and running. And actually, there was an article in the paper today about that. So, and there was the number of chicks in there is a lot more than what I thought they were going
It's
to.
a lot, and they plan to expand more.
220,000 chicks per year is what I thought I saw in there.
Yeah, something close to that.
So it's a lot of
I thought they
birds.
were in the millions.
Just
not yet.
Not yet, but maybe someday. So that's happened. We need to go into executive session on a project, but I guess before any other questions or
you mentioned something about Russell. What's going on over there?
so I'm not sure I totally understand it. I think I sent it an email. They, with the hemp industry kind of changing and growing, they've got a company out of Utah that's purchased property or has purchased a place in Russell, and they're gonna. David was in the same meeting with it. I got the impression that they manufacture a piece of equipment that does the harvesting and the processing all in one. Which I don't know how that works, but apparently they can do it. So they're going to start bringing this company
So
to
Nance
Russell.
comes in one end and brownies come out.
That's right.
Well, it's a weird looking machine because they take this one that can take, if it's a one, I don't know which, but it harvests the top of it, and then it cuts the bottom part, and then you have to go along and pick it up
It'd
or
be a
bundle or
big
whatever.
baler boom. And it's ordered in a baler boom. That's what I figured it was.
I don't know.
But maybe it's completely different than what we think.
That's just the impression that I got. Is it's this new piece of equipment that harvests and processes, and they're going to start with 20-ish jobs, something like that here, but with hopes to grow to 200 plus jobs in Russell. They had a big career fair a couple weeks ago to try and start getting some interest in the jobs that they've got. There's going to be engineers, and it's going to be a full range from probably the assembly, welding kind of stuff, all the way up to the upper parts of the company, engineers and managers and so forth.
They were saying that one of the higher ups with the company has already moved here.
Yeah, it's already moved and
And
bought a
has
house. And
10 kids.
Came from Utah.
He's also more. No, I don't know.
So anyway, that was just something that I hadn't heard yet, and so it's a big
Okay. I hadn't.
business.
You never heard what Roy Applequist is putting in Mankato, or Smith Center.
I think I have.
He's building a 300,000 square foot building up there to build agricultural equipment.
Really? Wow.
He sold Great Plains.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Not Kubota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is Kubota. I was thinking it was another Japanese name. I'll still watch it like it might or whatever.
Be interesting. Wonder what.
What kind of equipment he's gonna build.
Yeah.
I would think there would be a no compete clause of some kind.
Yeah, so that keeps him out of the tillage market.
Huh.
Maybe. Who knows?
Any other questions or other stuff? Like I said, we do have a project to discuss, so I would like to that we go into executive session for 30 minutes.
Before doing that, can we just complete your report with the upcoming schedule
Oh, yeah.
and then do executive session?
Yeah, so I'm just, in terms of the next month, between now and the next meeting, April 18th, I'll probably be in Salina most of the day. I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the whole workshop, but it's all about the CDG programs and kind of how they tweak it every year, what the updates are. And then in Hayes on April 26th for a USDA Red Leg, which stands for Rural Economic Development Loan and Grant Program, I think is what that stands for, and New Markets Tax Credits, which is a federal program that I don't think we qualify for, but I really wish we did, so I'm going to try and figure out if there's any hope for us in the future and how those programs work. At USDA, they've been talking that there's somebody who has some very unique and creative ways to apply for that program for community development type of projects. So that's kind of what I'm interested in, is because that's how I believe that's how our loan program was originally funded from, was this program. So I kind of know it from as money for loans, but I guess there's many other ways that you can use the program.
I guess we'll need a motion then to go into executive session for 30 minutes.
You can consult that piece of paper right back there, and it will tell you what your 2 things you have to meet.
Time limit and
No, there's
Septic, probably.
This thing, let's make it official.
what's the classification? Business.
It would be, that looks different than what I got, but it would be cheat sheets. Confidential data relating to financial affairs and trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trusts, and individual proprietorships.
Yeah, it's number 4 on here, to discuss data relating to financial affairs or trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trusts, and individual proprietorships.
So we need 30 minutes?
Well, it seems like it always takes a little longer. I mean, we can do 20. Want to do 20 minutes and then...
Yeah. So you're gonna make the motion
Yeah.
for 20 minutes?
Yep. To discuss,
Number
we're gonna wait for him to come back? For Dave to come back? Or,
I don't... Well, I guess we need a motion on that, so...
Sure, we can make.
Or
Well, she can still make the motion.
Yeah, make it.
I move to discuss, we go into executive session for 20 minutes to discuss data relating to financial affairs or trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trusts, and individual proprietorships.
We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Rhonda made the motion to go in executive session, 20 minutes, to discuss the data relating to financial affairs or trade secrets for corporations, partnerships, trusts, and individual proprietorships. And David seconded the motion. 20 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. No more than 10. No more than
Well,
10.
I think five is enough unless you got a bunch of questions, but I don't know.
Call Ken and read it out. We should come out with 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Just in case.
Read it.
Make a motion that we go into executive session for 10 minutes. Craig to recruit or to admit, I don't need to put, never mind. To relating to financial affairs, trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trusts, and individual proprietorships. And we want 10 minutes of executive session.
I do think Craig recuses himself.
Yes.
But I think that needs to be removed.
That's what I said. I thought it did.
So,
I'll second it.
We've had a motion from Rhonda to go back into executive session for 10 minutes to discuss data relating to financial affairs, trade secrets of corporation, partnership, trust, and individual proprietorships. David seconded the motion. Craig has excused himself from this session. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. We're back in for 10 minutes.
Dun, 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 dun. We're off to see the wizard.
Well, we're out of executive session, and I would like to entertain a motion to extend an offer to a client for up to $30,000 at 4% interest for 7 years.
I make the motion.
Okay. Yeah. You get your repeat it.
I'd like to make the offer, or the motion to make an offer to a client for $30,000 at 4% interest with a repayment of 7 years.
A second.
David's made the motion to extend an offer to a client for up to $30,000 at 4% interest for 7 years. Rhonda second the motion. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
and
Motion carried.
I believe Craig is still recusing himself from.
Yeah, Craig excuses himself from any of the motion and seconding.
So I do not have anything further in terms of the agenda for me. Unless you guys have any other questions on anything.
We'll adjourn the meeting.
Jack needs to go too.